Colors are awesome, design's awesome, top coat looks good, and this is gonna be a very durable floor, being gloss and then adding the additives. So we're back at it again, another contractor's project, Columbia River Coatings, 1,080 square foot shop. They've got a lot of the prep already done. We showed up to film the application part and just kind of help them put it down. It's a cool video for you guys to see how contractors do these projects, all aspects of it, right? We're dealing with, it's raining outside, so we're mixing in a different spot than we typically would, and so you're gonna see all the aspects of that. So I'll just walk you through everything that they did to this point. Pretty simple stuff. A lot of cracks in here, pitting and spider cracks, just a lot of issues with this concrete, some old concrete. We've got a really sloped area right here. This edge right here, it really slopes and tapers down. So we will get a little bit different design when we put the epoxy down there. It's always good to let homeowners know too, like, hey, you got a slope here. It slopes pretty hard here. So this area might look, well, it will look a little different than obviously the rest of the floor, especially where it's going. You know, this is a pretty drastic slope right here. So we're gonna get some running in the material. And again, it's always good to just be up front with them, let them know the expectations of what's gonna happen on the project. So there's that one aspect. Another thing is this edge has a gap all the way around. And so what you can do is put backer rod in there, right, to just keep resin from flowing down in there. Another thing that we've done before is paintable latex caulking. We're just trying to seal that up, right? There's no structure integrity or anything you're trying to do. We just wanna keep resin from flowing in there and disappearing, right? We're wasting product. So that's one thing you might want to do. So what we're going to do, because they didn't do that, is we're just going to be careful on those edges. We're going to push the product up to it slow. We don't want to dump a bucket of epoxy out here, let it level out and just constantly be draining down in that gap. And so we're going to be cautious of that as we're coating. Patcher paste all the saw cuts, as you can see right here. This is all our patcher paste. So they fill it high and then they grind it smooth. It's perfectly flush. Right, don't feel any low spots, nothing. Looks really, really good. So all the saw cuts were filled, the cracks were filled. It's always good to take the time, fill any seams, gaps, cracks. And then what they're doing right now is just running around. So what they did is they came in, they shot blasted. Always shot blast your floors, especially contractors. You're gonna just get an amazing bond. So they shot blasted, hit the edges with the diamond grinder, and then cleaned it, vacuumed it. Did a seal coat at 150 square feet a gallon. You can do it at 400 square feet a gallon. They just like to do it a little thicker. It'll level out uneven spots. If you have low spots in your saw cuts, it'll level those out better too. And so they rolled on 150 square foot of our clear metallic epoxy. What that does is it seals up all the pores, because when you shot blast, I'll try to find a spot. Like if you come right here, you can see all the aggregate, the rocks and the cement. And so once you get to this point, it's really, really porous. So it's gonna wanna soak up a lot of product. It's gonna wanna release more outgassing air, right? And so we wanna seal the concrete up before we put our decorative coat on to minimize any bubbles, outgassing bubbles, issues that you can get. The other thing the seal coat does is it lets the resin soak deep into the concrete pores and permanently welds to that concrete surface, basically making it one surface. What they're doing right now is just going around filling, sanding any imperfections in the surface. Like right here, there was a chunk of something, so they sanded it down, right? What they did is they just go around, they put pieces of blue tape anywhere that needs to be sanded, or maybe there was a crack, like right here, there was a crack that was missed. I think this was one, or this might have been before the seal coat. But they'll just go around, put pieces of blue tape everywhere. That way they don't have to constantly be looking. They just go around with a palm sander, sand any imperfections down. Yeah, so we're pretty much ready in there. I think few minor things. One thing is when we mix and walk across the wet grass, we don't want to bring water into the floor. So we're gonna have to clean our feet really good when we get in there, and then we'll have the guys that are mixing will just be mixing. They'll bring it to the door, we'll grab it. So we'll never leave the floor that we're coating, right? Last thing you want to do is be constantly walking in and out of a project. You're going to be tracking crap in on your feet, especially when it's rainy. So when we start coating, the people that are coating are going to be in the garage floor. The guys that are mixing are just going to mix and then run the product to the door. It's always vital to set up your mixing station and get as much stuff ready before you have to add the hardener. That's going to make the project go really smooth and fast, and always make sure you have enough guys to be constantly mixing and giving you fresh products. What they're doing is just, they got the part A's dumped in all the kits that we're making. We're doing a 50-50 mix, and so they're pre-pigmenting with the metallics, the part A, before adding the hardener. That's going to save you a lot of time from trying to mix in the metallics, right? We want to get everything done that we can before we add the hardener. And so we have 4 buckets of silver, and then we have 4 buckets of black, and they've already pre-mixed these in. And then right here, they still have to pre-mix these 2 metallics in. And then they got paint sticks ready. They got gloves, drills, secondary mixing buckets, everything that you're going to need. So once we say, hey, let's start, it's just a continuous motion of mixing and handing buckets to us, and we put it down on the floor. What we're going to be doing is a 50-50 mix. So they're going to be mixing a 3-gallon kit of silver, 3-gallon kit of black. We're going to spread them out in our sections. I always talk about sectioning off your floors, right? You never want to put a base coat or try to coat the whole floor at once and then try to do highlights, right? Or try to finish a whole big area at once. So what we do is we split it into sections, and so we always have fresh material. So you can see the tape right here. This is our first section. So from here to this wall is our first section we're gonna coat. We'll get that done. We'll spritz it with isopropyl, do the dispersing effects. And then once that's done, they're gonna be mixing a fresh 2 3-gallon kits. And then that's gonna go to this tape, right? And then we have brand new fresh product, and so on. When we get to this section, again, they mix fresh product. So we always have nice fluid resin that's not setting up, that's not getting sticky. That's the only way you can do bigger projects, and it just makes the floors turn out better. They'll marbleize more. When the product is mixed, do not let it sit in a bucket. It immediately needs to be brought into the project and dumped out on the floor. So what you guys want to do is, like, you obviously want silver and black kind of throughout this whole section, right? So you don't want to dump, 90% of silver here, and then that whole side's pretty much black. It's almost, you know what I mean? So you want to kind of do smaller sections. We can always go back and add to the same piles. Can't really pick it up and take it over there, right? So just do some designs.
You can do. You want to overlap them?
No, you don't want to overlap them.
Okay.
Keep them separate. Like, pour a pile here of silver, pour a black one going a different way. Kind of just as random as you can. You know what I mean? So we know this is our tape, right? We're not going past this line. So I would do a little silver here, right? It's just like your veins, right?
Yeah, okay. All right.
Little silver here. Make sure I'm watching the tape line. Little there, right? Keep it going. A little more here, a little more there. And then you're doing black. Yeah, like I would do a black maybe coming up from here. Yeah, it's fine. You can always go back and add to it, right? When I'm doing this, I'm always looking back at the floor. All right, how's my patterns looking? Where do I want to put another vein? Which way do I want that puddle to go? Obviously, we got thick product right here next to each other. So I would start to push this one away, right? And all we're trying to do is just real quick, man. We want to move quick, and we're just trying to fill in everywhere. So one guy does silver, one guy does black. You start on that end, he starts here, and then when you get to the next section, you flip-flop. Okay. You start over there, he starts over there. That way, you get all the way done in your half. This whole half looks a little different. That way it's kind of sporadic throughout. Okay. But all we're trying to do now is just fill in the spots. Okay. I'm not even trying to blend it yet. I just want to make sure we get resin everywhere. Yeah, so now I'm gonna work from one end and just do This is where you're like blending it. Spots that don't need blended, I don't keep blending it. But I want to do swoopy motions. I don't want to just keep stopping and doing this crap everywhere, right? So they're almost done finishing this up. So Kyle's gonna go start mixing up the next 2 batches, and then we'll start the next section. Biggest thing on this next section is once you get it spread out, you wanna blend this edge in first, right? Don't worry about nothing out here. Blend this edge in first, because remember, this is already setting up now. We're getting fresh product. We wanna make sure we get this blended in so you don't see section lines, right? So big tip for you is always do that when you're doing sections. Blend in your edge to the previous section first, and then spend the time on the rest, right? Because this is already setting up. We want to get this edge blended in so you don't see like a dominant line of like a section throughout the floor. So John, we got a hard line right here. Ain't a big deal, but I want to just show you guys everything, right? So when I blend that, right, if you just hit over it again, you're still gonna have a hard line.
Right.
Chop that thing up a little bit. So we're getting ready to pour out the final section, and that's kind of the process, right? We work in sections, we're always having a fresh product. First thing we do, 50-50 mixed floors, so 50% silver, 50% black. We pour them out randomly on that section. We use the notch squeegee to spread them out as much as we can without kind of blending them with the notch squeegee. And then we fine tune it with the flat squeegee, blend it in really good like they are here, and this is what gives you that really cool dynamic looking floor. They opted out of doing the dispersing effect with isopropyl. If you do that, that creates those cells and those kind of dispersing effects, which pushes the colors away from each other, creates some really cool looks, but they didn't want to do that, and so they're just misting it with denatured alcohol. So we'll finish up this last section, and it's still moving and marbleizing, but you see there's no uniform pattern to it. It's all completely random. It looks really, really cool. And then I think they're coming back tomorrow doing gloss top coat with the grit additive. We probably won't film that, but we'll come back and get some final shots for you guys to see what that looks like. All right, so we're back on the project, local contractor CRC, Columbia River Coatings. We're able to come back, get you guys final footage. And then the only thing that they did that we didn't film was apply our gloss urethane with the grit additive. They had a few imperfections that they sanded down, some debris, some dust and stuff that got into it. Sanded that with 220 grit palm sander, cleaned the floor, and then they sprayed our gloss urethane out of a Chapman concrete sprayer, red Chapman sprayer. That's pretty much what they did. They sprayed it, rolled it, 3/8 snap roller. And so we have lots of footage of that. So it's not a big deal that we didn't get this on this project, but I wanted to come back just so you guys could see the final outcome. The floor looks beautiful. Colors are awesome, design's awesome, top coat looks good, and this is gonna be a very durable floor, being gloss and then adding the grit additive. So we'll let James do his thing, get the final footage. See you guys on the next project.